guys so much. Does anyone have any questions at all? Or I could just talk about me, but that's boring. Question? Hey.
What's your preference on drum miking in the studio?
It depends on the music.
Yeah.
I'm kind of old school, I guess, which is fun. I'm not old. I'm not even 30 yet. But I prefer actually. I like more. I'm the kind of drummer I like to mix myself when I play, which kind of. I think the more mics you use, the more options you have, right? But I like sonically, if I know what I'm going for, especially if I'm, for my sound, I kind of prefer to use as few mics as possible. Like for groove-based music, I like to use like a kick and snare and like, maybe a hat and definitely an overhead. But mix-wise, I like to use more of a close overhead mic sound. It's just what I like. But obviously, like, it depends on who you're playing with and the music and their preference and if it's your music. So in general, more times than not, I use like, standard mic on every tom and 2 overheads and kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, But I prefer, for myself, I like less mics. Like, I really like this record, Amy Winehouse did Back to Black. I think they used actually just 2 mics for most of the drum sounds on the album. Which, I mean, if you really go back to, like, Motown anyways, they did, a lot of those kick drums you didn't even hear until they started shifting the position closer, That's why the great James Jamerson was so great, because he kind of was the kick drum in a sense,
But on that record, they also used samples to enhance the drum sound.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So, I mean, the bottom line, I think, for your question, it depends on the music. If it's groove-based music, I think kick and snare always, hat probably, overhead definitely, toms.
And for monitoring, would you have only the overheads in your headphones to mix yourself, or?
When I'm playing or when I'm mixing it?
When you're playing.
When I'm playing in the studio?
Yeah.
I'm more, even actually in live as well. I use in-ears when I play live as well, and I just have them give me mostly overhead with a little bit of kick only if I can't hear it. Because I like to mix myself, I know, I don't always want my kick drum at like full volume, which engineers, especially live sound, hate. Because it's much easier to mix, right, if you're, if everything's going to be exactly the same, but it's just not who I am. So yeah, when I'm in the studio or live, I in my personal mix, I like to just hear the sound coming off, the sound coming off of the drums, and a little bit of kick if I can't hear it at all, but usually not. Engineers look at me really strangely when I tell them to turn the kick drum down. They're like, less kick? What? All drummers want to hear like kick drum. I'm just weird like that. If I want kick drum, I'll play it louder. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you a drummer?
No, I'm, guitarist.
Oh, cool.
Engineer a lot.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm getting the idea, like, a lot of people, like, wear different hats here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you go.
So how did you manage to play bass, guitar, and drums so well?
I started when I was really young. I started playing drums when I was 2, and bass and guitar when I was 8. And then I grew up in a small town, so there was not much else to do, or that I was allowed to do, No, it's I think you know, musicians make music, and I was lucky enough to have access to instruments. My mom saw me beating on pots and pans and stuff, and got me a drum set for my, I think, I got my kit, my little junior kit for my 2nd birthday. You know, which was, you know, it actually, to me, it speaks more like for my mom, like, because, you know, who thinks, oh, the 2-year-old is banging on stuff, let's buy them a drum set. You know? But I'm grateful that she did, you know. And then when I was 8, I saw this video. There's a bass player named Abraham Laborio. It's, you know, he's one of my favorites. But I saw him playing in this video, this gospel kind of church worship music video that my mom had, and I just loved what he brought to the, you know, the way he supported like a whole band, and like was very giving, very supportive, and had his own voice, and he just really played with a lot of joy. And I said, I want to do that. So then my dad got me a bass for my 9th birthday, but he let me get it early before my birthday because I couldn't wait. But actually earlier than that, I guess I'm forgetting, he had brought home like this guitar, an acoustic guitar from a yard sale that he found, but it only had 4 strings on it. So I kind of started playing like guitar first, I guess, but it only had, you know, I would like play bass lines and melodies on it, you know, so it was just music, you know. And then I got the bass, and then I got the guitar, and then actually a couple years later I started in band in my school when I was 11, so I started playing trombone and tuba and euphonium. Yeah, did you guys know that? I play low brass too. Actually, we're doing this. We do these symphony shows with Bobby McFerrin, who I work with. We do this Gershwin tribute. We did just a few weeks ago with the San Francisco, the SFO Symphony Orchestra, and Gil Goldstein did the arrangement. So he wrote in a part, a feature in Rhapsody in Blue for like duet with euphonium and piano. So I had to dress back off my euphonium chops and play with the San Francisco Symphony. But it's fun, it's a big part of my life. That's actually where I learned to read, because growing up playing drums and bass and guitar, I was just playing by ear, you know. My ears are my gift, so then through that I learned to read and, you know, write and all that stuff. It's my 5-minute life story. You said you had something.
Yeah, you were speaking about sound before. Can you maybe give some advice how you practice to get a certain sound on the drum kit? I mean, acoustically, without the miking. Just
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. So, when I was really trying to find my sound and along those lines, control was like a big thing that, for me, the way I conceptualize it. I knew that I wanted to be able to execute rhythms but you know, beyond, you know, the drum kit has several voices, right? So I wanted to be able to play a rhythm. I wanted to, you know, the musician to be able to, my voice to be heard, like, you know, I didn't want to be limited to just be able to, if I hear something, if it's like this degree of difficulty, then I can play it anywhere on the right side, and if it's like simpler, I can play it with my left hand, you know, or like my foot, you know. So I would make up exercises that just with unison notes, just around the kit. You just started like with like right hand, left foot, and right hand, left hand, kick drum, and I usually keep time with the left foot just for good measure. But through that, I started getting into sound, like, you know, through like we're doing exercises with these unison notes, with double stops, essentially. Developing like the physical control to be able to say, I want to play this note, but I want the cymbal to be louder, or I want to play this note, I want the snare drum to be louder. Because, you know, when you play different styles of music, you know, obviously, like, you know, these are things that, like, mix engineers would do. Or, like, you know, I like all these kinds of music, so I wanted to be able to do that. So I would make up exercises that's, like, really simple, like a 4-bar phrase that, and within that phrase, focus on bringing up, mixing myself, like, levels-wise. So maybe I'll give you an example. This is one I would do all the time. It's like 4 bars and 6/8, and with accents and grace notes. And I find that really helps me also, like, in terms of developing control and sound. Like, if it's just coded, if it's just all the same, then it's easier to, like, cheat, yeah, or something like this, you know. So here's an exercise that I would do with unison notes, and I'll start it, and then as I go, you'll hear me mix the different levels, you know. And this comes really in handy, like like I said, playing different styles that you want to. Sometimes you want more kick drum, or if it's more jazz based, you want this to more come up and support this, or vice versa. So I've used stuff like that to you know, develop the facility to be able to control it, so that when I'm playing, like, a groove, like, you know, you can play one groove in like 2 or 3 different styles at least, you know, like. Yeah, that's kind of heavier on the kick drum. If you play it, like, with the snare drum a little more accented, then it can be a little more Motowny. You know what I mean? Or if you go more on the hi-hat and the kick drum, and the snare kind of has the same velocity, it can go a little more hip-hop. You know what I mean? Or if you all blast out, then it could be more like pop. You know what I mean? So it ties directly in with what he was asking about, like sound and mixing yourself. Like, and I think it as a sideman, it's definitely useful, because I know, like, more or less, like, the people that I'm working with, like what they're used to and the sounds that they like and that inspire them. And I'm lucky, I like all of it, so it doesn't kill me to go one or the other. That's actually a fun challenge, because I like making good music. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.